One of the things that people are starting to get excited about in the coming years is that Cedar Fair has apparently aligned itself with Rocky Mountain Construction, RMC, the legendary company known for taking these old wooden roller coasters and turning them into these insane hybrids. They also do ground up wooden roller coasters. All of their rides are absolutely incredible. And we're going to start seeing our first Cedar Fair RMCs in 2018. So it leads other people to wonder, well, if Cedar Fair is going to start installing RMCs, what parks are going to get some of these? So that's what I'm talking about in this video. Now, for the most part, we are not going to be talking about two parks, Cedar Point and King's Dominion. And that's because we know that they'll be receiving RMCs. Mean Streak will be RMC'd, and you can't deny that. There's literally track on the coaster. King's Dominion, we are like 99% sure that Hurler will be RMC'd. So assuming that those two RMCs come in 2018, we can probably expect to see some others come in like 2019, 2020, or the years following. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to run down the list of parks and talk about their chances of receiving an RMC. If so, what type of RMC we could be looking at. Let's start things off with a park that I think a lot of people would like to see an RMC at, and this is California's Great America. Now here's the interesting thing about this one. Yes, you do have Six Flags Discovery Kingdom not too far away that has an RMC, but it's being tossed around the idea of taking Grizzly and transforming that into an RMC. Grizzly was never really a loved roller coaster. I mean, it's okay, it's not the greatest, but I think the chances of that being RMC'd are actually not that bad. This is one of those coasters in the Cedar Fair chain where I could actually see it happen. Cedar Fair has big plans for this park, and I would not be surprised if an RMC is one of those. But that being said, we probably wouldn't see it for quite a few years. We know their next major coaster that they're going to be getting will most likely be a hypercoaster. And really, they need that before they need an RMC. So if they did get an RMC, it wouldn't be for quite a while. So let's move on. Let's talk about Canada's Wonderland. And this, I think, is also a pretty good option. The two options really being tossed around here is that you RMC the mighty Canadian Mindbuster, or that you give them a ground-up wooden roller coaster. And the last coaster that they got was Wonder Mountain's Guardian, and really that's kind of like a coaster hybrid. So before that, you had Leviathan in 2012. So we could be seeing their next roller coaster by like 2019, so it might be a few years. Which if that's the case, then their next coaster should probably be something good. And with RMC, you're always going to get something good. So of the two options, getting a ground up wooden roller coaster or a hybrid, I think that's kind of a toss up. Because really at the moment, their wooden coasters are okay. They don't really have an outstanding wooden roller coaster. So giving them another Woody would certainly be nice. But if they RMC'd the mighty Canadian Mindbuster or even Wild Beast, that wouldn't be adding a new roller coaster, they'd just be redoing a current one. And I think both their layouts have potential, definitely. So I'd be interested in seeing what happens there, or even if they end up getting an RMC at all. But I think it is definitely possible for them to have a coaster by Rocky Mountain Construction in their future. Moving down the list, we have Carowinds. In this, I would love to see a ground-up wooden roller coaster from RMC here. Some people are talking about, well, they're redoing Hurler at King's Dominion. Will they redo Hurler at Carowinds? And contrary to popular opinion, I don't think that will be the case. I don't think that Cedar Fair would redo both Hurlers. I think Hurler at King's Dominion will be redone, but kind of like what Six Flags has done with the two Roar roller coasters, we'll just be seeing one of them redone. I think Carowinds as Hurler will stay the same because, unlike the King's Dominion Hurler, the Carowinds Hurler is not a bad ride. The King's Dominion Hurler needed some help, and it's going to get the help it deserves. So with Carowinds, right now they really only have one wooden roller coaster. Yes, technically they have two, but that's Woodstock Express. So Hurler is really your only major wooden coaster at the park because they took out Thunder Road. So I would rather see a brand new wooden roller coaster here, and I think this has a lot of potential here, and they have the land for it. Here's what you do. Simply take out Dinosaurs Alive, boom, you have tons of space, put in something like Outlaw Run. It would be fantastic. Of course, the other thing they need is a launch coaster, so they might get a steel coaster before they get a new wooden roller coaster. But personally, I'd rather see the Woody, and they probably won't go with a launch wooden coaster because we saw how well that worked out with Lightning Rod. And really, they do need both of those to add to their lineup, so hopefully we'll eventually see a launch coaster and an RMC Woody. But if I had to predict which one would come first, my guess would be the wooden coaster. But I wouldn't be surprised if the steel coaster isn't too far behind. And the reason I also say the wooden coaster is because we know that Cedar Fair is still putting a lot of money into Carowinds. So I wouldn't be surprised if like 2019 we see an RMC there. They have a big budget for that park, and so an RMC is certainly doable. Next up we have Dorney Park, and this one's tricky. Cedar Fair hasn't put a lot of money here. They've been receiving a lot of small additions, some hand-me-downs. They do need a nice wooden roller coaster because right now all they have is Thunderhawk. But personally, I'd rather see a GCI here. People have always talked about GCI going to Dorney. I'd rather see that there than an RMC. And Cedar Fair did just build a GCI at Kings Island, so we know they're still working with GCI. So if I had to guess, I'd say they'll probably get a GCI instead of an RMC. But one thing's for sure, they won't be getting an RMC redo. If they did get an RMC by chance, my guess is that it would be a ground-up coaster. But I personally would suspect that they'd get a GCI before an RMC. Next up, we have Kings Island. And I don't think we're going to be seeing an RMC here, period. Like, done. They just got Mystic Timbers. They have an awesome wooden roller coaster collection and an awesome coaster collection in general. Their next coaster that they're going to be getting will be a Giga. They're going to be saving up money for that because that is a huge investment. That is exactly what Kings Island needs. They don't need another wooden roller coaster. Their wooden coaster collection is already outstanding. So I think we can just scratch an RMC coming to Kings Island. I highly doubt that will happen. Moving on, we have Knott's Berry Farm. What's interesting about here is that we learned that Cedar Fair was considering having RMC redo Ghost Rider, but they decided to go with GCI. And now Ghost Rider is awesome. So we know they will not be touching Ghost Rider. And Knott's Berry Farm is also a really landlocked park. There's rumors going around that they might remove Montezuma's Revenge or their Boomerang, but I think if that happened and a roller coaster were to replace that, it wouldn't be an RMC. Especially when you have Twisted Colossus just down the road, so I don't think an RMC will be coming to Knott's. Michigan's Adventure? Heh, that's funny. Next, Valley Fair. I'm kind of leaning against Valley Fair getting an RMC. I would be very surprised if they did get one. Personally, I'd much rather see a nice B&M coaster go here. I think that's much more possible than an RMC. Like, an RMC will be a good coaster to go to any amusement park, but I doubt it would go to Valley Fair. Finally, we have Worlds of Fun. And much like Carowinds, I'd rather see a good launch coaster go here. I think they're more likely to get a steel coaster before they get an RMC. They have 2 wooden roller coasters already, and we know they won't be RMCing either of those 2. So the options are get a nice steel coaster or an RMC. I think they need the steel coaster more. So I'm going to say probably no to Worlds of Fun with that. So those are all of the Cedar Fair parks in the chain. I did exclude Gilroy Gardens just because I highly doubt they'll be getting an RMC. And I'm not sure Gilroy Gardens even really counts. But the point is, I think we will be seeing some RMCs in the chain. So it'll be definitely interesting to see what happens here. I know everyone wants an RMC at their home park, but if you look at the practicality of it, every park is not going to be getting an RMC. And also when you factor in parks nearby, kind of like with California's Great America and how they have an RMC not too far away, and same with Knott's. These parks do compete, so if one park has an RMC, it's kind of unlikely that the neighboring park would get an RMC also. But who knows? I mean, anything is possible. So I want to hear from you if you agree with these predictions. Where would you like to see an RMC go? If I mentioned that an RMC coming to your home park may be likely, what would you like to see there? What type of RMC? Post all those thoughts in the comment section below, and I'll catch you guys later.